What's up, folks? It's Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Layer to provide you my reaction to not just this last episode of The Defenders, but my overall reaction to the series that I'm very satisfied with. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just like the fact that I was emotionally choked up throughout the second half of this episode after everything went down and you know, we saw a sacrifice from Matt Murdock, and also how that sacrifice inspired these other characters, most importantly Iron Fist and Jessica Jones, to sort of realize that they need to be selfless and confident and powerful and ready to take on threats that will, you know, try to take down the city in any small or big way. And so that was great. Like, the show touched me, you know, and the reason why is because A, these characters, we've gotten to know them pretty intimately, and B, because like the presentation is so authentic that it really draws you in. And like in my mind, I've been comparing it to like Arrow, you know, like on the CW, where a lot of stuff happens and I just don't really care. Like, I'm not engaged with the action. The action choreography is very generic, and it's done in a very cheap way. Like, you can tell they're just trying to get things out of the way because they have like 23 episodes they have to do per season, and they just don't have time to really focus on what they're doing. At the end of the last episode of the 6th season, I think it was, there was that explosion on the island, and it's assumed that most people died. You know, most of his supporting crew died, but I didn't care. Like, it didn't really affect me at all. And here, it was implied that Matt died. And even though in my mind I knew that that wasn't the case, because I know there's a Daredevil season 3 coming, like, it's still, I got choked up. I got choked up, like emotionally choked up. And that again is a tribute to the quality of the show, both in the acting and in the overall presentation of the stories that have been told. So bravo to Netflix and to Marvel for pulling off a really fantastic climax to this entire series of shows that is going to continue, and it's going to go in directions that are unexpected at this point, but I'm looking forward to all of it. Anyway, this last episode, it went down the way you sort of thought it was going to go down. It was revealed that like the substance that they were looking for was in fact, I think, some sort of derivative of like this dragon that Danny fought to become the Iron Fist, or maybe like other dragons that were buried in that area. So for some reason I assumed that door was sort of a portal to some other place. Maybe it was in the end, because we saw at the very last moment that Matt Murdock woke up somewhere. So maybe he was transported elsewhere through that tunnel or whatever. But you know, I mean, we'll find out more about that later. Obviously, I'm sure in the various shows that come after this season, this first season of The Defenders. Yeah, so it's some sort of derivative of the dragon's bones, maybe, that allows these folks to stay immortal. So it was somewhat clear, but not really. But yeah, I don't need it to be more clear than it is, because I got it. I understood what was going on. I understood the motivations behind the hand, and also like what our heroes had to do to take down the hand, which is to bring down that building. We had that really fucking great battle sequence in that sort of underground dragon graveyard, where we had a couple of long takes kind of following our heroes like fighting in different areas, and it was choreographed really well. It was definitely reminiscent of that awesome long take shot in the Avengers when like they're fighting the Chitauri, and we go from like Hulk over here to Thor over here to Hawkeye over here to Captain America over here, like just one tracking shot. Obviously there were sneaky cuts in there, but it felt like one take, as though we were in the experience of this event that was going on. It was similar down in this sequence underground in the show. So I have to give it up to the show for, again, like, putting in a lot of effort to really kind of draw us in to the reality of the action and making us feel like we're in the middle of it, and it's authentic, and it's not just like choreographed stuff that they film for entertainment. You know, it's like, no, it's like, it's fucking our heroes versus the Hand, and it's like, and it's captivating and visceral and effective. So love that whole sequence. Mrs. Gao, it's unclear what happened to Mrs. Gao, but I loved her role in this whole series, and I loved her sort of final moments, in quotes. I don't think she's dead, and I hope she's not, because she's such a fucking great character, and we saw how powerful she is, and I feel like if she were to unite with Wilson Fisk in some way, I think it would be epic. We did kind of, I mean, she was initially, I think, involved with Wilson Fisk in the first season of Daredevil. I have to go back and watch the original series, because I haven't watched any of them more than once. Like, I've watched each one once when they were released, and I haven't gone back because I just haven't had time. I wanted to do it before this, but I had to do the whole Game of Thrones leading up to this amazing season. If you haven't been catching it, watch that fucking shit. It's amazing. And now I'm doing Walking Dead, you know, getting me ready for the, I think it's the 8th season of The Walking Dead. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, so we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with Mrs. Gao if she survived, and ideally she will eventually come in contact with the Kingpin again, I hope, and there'll be a force to be reckoned with. I don't want the Hand to be completely gone from the show, but I do want it to be acknowledged that they have been crippled by this whole event. But I do hope that some of that substance survived and is able to bring some folks back to life, because, you know, I wouldn't mind me a little more Sigourney Weaver, if you ask me. And of course Mrs. Gao. Elektra, hopefully she survived. It was, again, like, very sort of ambiguous, like, where she stood mentally now at this point. And she sort of tried to communicate that to Matt, explaining that this is who she always was. But Matt was like, I know there's good in you. So, like, I don't necessarily think that this was, you know, the person he knew. I think that she was changed by this whole experience. But it did definitely amplify those aspects of her personality, of who she is, that did border on the, you know, the less sort of ethical behavior patterns that she exhibited. So hopefully this isn't the end of that story, because I want to see more of that. I really like that actress, and I really like her journey. I really like the dynamic between her and Matt Murdock. I think it's fantastic. That fighting sequence below ground with all the heroes was fucking amazing. Love seeing, again, more action with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and Iron Fist 2. He actually did step it up quite a bit in this episode, but I feel like he's still on this, like, path of growth, and I'm hoping that, like, this event does kind of help to sort of, you know, promulgate him to, like, that place that we all want him to be at, where, like, he is confident and he's powerful, and we just want to stand behind him as, like, our hero, you know, because I think he can be that, and definitely the character deserves it, because you know, he's been around forever. I hope in the forthcoming individual series that we get a lot of overlap with these characters, at least some cameos, because I think now that we've seen these worlds sort of overlap, it just doesn't make sense for everybody to go their separate ways and not communicate and have, like, their own shit going on and them not talk to each other. So hopefully they'll do what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing, and starting to kind of sprinkle in cameos, or even just, like, have other characters in the individual series, like in Captain America. I mean, obviously we saw in Civil War, we saw basically everybody except Thor and Hulk. But now in Thor Ragnarok, we're seeing the Hulk, and we're seeing Doctor Strange, potentially. I'm sorry, that's a spoiler, but it's in a commercial. It's in a trailer. Anyway, and we saw it in the end of Doctor Strange too, in the post-credit sequence. So I hope I didn't spoil anything there for you if you haven't seen Doctor Strange. But if you haven't seen Doctor Strange, you probably don't care about it. You should care about it. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. And by the way, Doctor Strange, there should be some... I mean, Doctor Strange is about mysticism, right? And the Hand is about mysticism. So there should be some connection there. Hopefully, at some point, there will be. I know this whole television film universe thing is from a business standpoint, separate. at this point. But I hope that there can come a point where they just like do bring them together. When we have Infinity War, like I hope at the very least like something is shown or something from these characters, these Netflix defenders in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I think it would be so epic, and I think the fucking fans would go fucking crazy. But given that is the case, they're probably saving it, and I understand that why they would do that. Anyway, finally got a brief moment with Trish. Trish didn't play a big role here, but she had a little bit. You know, it was enough to kind of say, Trish is important. You know, she's an important supporting character of Jessica Jones. We had that moment with her and Karen, and it kind of seemed like they were gonna be friends. I could totally see a show or a series or a mini series that has just like Colleen Wing, Karen Page, Misty Knight, Claire Templeton, just these powerful women like kind of becoming their own kind of, you know, group of heroes or something. I think it would work really well. Anyway, speaking of Misty Knight, we saw her arm got cut off. And those that read the comics, I actually have never read a comic with her in it, but I do know that in the comic she has like a bionic arm. So given that Danny Rand is probably going to flip the bill for whatever she needs at this point, like she's probably going to get some super sophisticated like bionic arm, and she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. You know, she's going to be a great sort of maybe a sidekick to Luke Cage in the second season of Luke Cage. It's going to be exciting to kind of see how that goes, because I really love this actress that plays Misty Knight. Man, she's really got a lot of charisma, and like I really love watching her, like all these other ladies that I just mentioned. And of course, even the guys that Froggy, he's fantastic. The stuff with him and Karen post the death quotes of Matt Murdock were great. I did think we were going to see the Punisher at some point, but we didn't see him. But that's fine. It's great that he had his time in Daredevil, and now, I mean, we just got a teaser for his series. So his individual series is probably coming up in the next few months. So we're going to get a lot of him, and maybe and since Karen's going to be in there, maybe there will be some sort of aftermath of these events in that show as well, that maybe get us closer to Daredevil season 3. Maybe we'll see about that. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be very exciting. Hopefully the Kingpin will show up in that series, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah, like I guess that's pretty much it. Like I love the way it was a good sort of 15 or 20 minutes after the building was brought down of sort of denouement epilogue type scenes that were really great. They gave us a little bit of each character. We saw Jessica Jones reopening her detective agency and basically just realizing that she needs to be, you know, present and ready to kind of use her power to help. And that's an awesome thing to see. It's just great to see these characters grow. It's so much better than a film because, again, like we have so much content from their individual lives that like you just totally buy everything that's going on with them. And also they're all great actors. Like there isn't one weak actor in the entire series. I mean, some people might have said that Finn Jones, I think is the name of the guy that plays Iron Fist, was a little bit weak, but I never really thought that. I think the character himself is just like this whiny kid that's like trying to kind of reconcile like his position in the world, given that he lost his parents, went through all this stuff in Kunlun, got the Iron Fist, came back to the real world, had to go through all his BS. But he's still a kind of a kid. He never really grew up, and like I think a lot of this is his process of growing up, and so it doesn't feel like the actor is doing a bad job. It just feels like that's what he's supposed to be playing right now, and that he's going to mature and become, you know, better, and so we're going to see that evolution throughout his individual series and also in, you know, forthcoming Defenders series, which I hope there will be many of, because this has to go on for a long time, man. And I know that Disney has like pulled out of their Netflix deal as far as their movie streaming stuff, but like these actual shows will remain on Netflix, and I'm pretty sure that Netflix owns the right to produce them, at least this iteration of them. So I think we'll see plenty more, and I hope we will, because it's so good. And eventually they need to release this stuff on Blu-ray, because I don't want to just be dependent on Netflix to watch this stuff. I want to have it apart from their streaming service to be able to watch on a Blu-ray player without any potential interruptions, etc. Anyway, yeah, so overall, love this fucking series. Love everything that Netflix has done. Even the Iron Fist series, not the best of all of them, but decent. And a lot of the stuff that happened in Iron Fist was sort of the groundwork for what happened in this series. So you can sort of think of Iron Fist as a prequel to the Defenders. It was a very necessary show, and Colleen Wing is a great character, and we wouldn't have gotten her had we not had that show. Also, her interactions with Claire and Claire's sort of further involvement in this world, you know, is centrally important to this whole universe. And like I'm just, the more I see of her, the better. I love her. I freaking love her character. I love the actress, of course. So, you know, there was a lot to like in that series. I'm glad we didn't hear the name Meacham at all in this series. Yeah, because all that Meacham stuff, it was kind of weird. But then it also did kind of also take us further into the Hand territory. Because remember, the Meacham guy, the father, he was brought back to life by the Hand. And so, you know, that does, it's all about this whole sort of Hand journey towards, you know, indefinite immortality. That's sort of central to like why they have to do the things they do and why our heroes have to go up against them. So the more of that, the better. I'm going to keep talking about, I can keep talking about Iron Fist all day long as far as like why it is worth watching and why it's a worthy component of this entire story. But of course, that's up to you to decide ultimately. For me, like I said, love this series, love all of these series, can't wait for more. And as always, I mean, all I can say is like, make mine Marvel, you know? Make mine motherfucking Marvel forever. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. If you've caught all 8 of my videos, cool. If you haven't, they're all there. If you want to, if you ever want to rewatch the show, you can go back and kind of watch my reaction to each individual episode. Up to you. But they're there. I have them in a playlist on my channel. Check them out. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, you can do so by clicking down there somewhere. And as always, I like to remind you, if you haven't already, folks, you better put an X in that box, baby. Cause ain't nobody checking my folks. Ain't nobody checking my... Bye-bye.